Have you ever finished singing a song and you're like, oh my God, why did that feel so hard? Maybe it felt like your throat was locking up, tightening up. Maybe the high notes felt really difficult. Or maybe it just felt like you were pushing and straining and it did not feel fun. I know many singers who have had these experiences, but the truth is that singing should not feel that hard. That doesn't mean that it takes zero effort. You're still going to feel things that are happening as you're singing, but it shouldn't feel like an uphill battle. If you're new here, my name is Veronica Kokos. I am a holistic voice teacher who believes that there are no wrong notes when it comes to singing. Just play, experimentation, and curiosity. First and foremost, when it comes to singing, if singing feels difficult, it's often because there are muscles or parts of the voice that are trying to compensate for the parts of the voice that aren't coordinated yet. And I really want to emphasize the coordination issue because I think that when singers experience difficulty in their singing, a lot of times they will just chalk it up to them not being a good singer. They'll just think to themselves, well, I can't do it naturally. I don't have natural talent, so that means I can't do it at all. When singing is a learnable skill, yes, it involves coordination of different systems within the body, different parts of the body. But just like any other skill that requires muscular function or muscular skill, like you can think about lifting weights. If I just go into the gym and I've never lifted weights before and I go right over to the dumbbell rack and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to try 45 pounds today, 45 pounds in each arm, and I've never lifted before. Okay, I'm going to have a very hard time lifting those weights. I feel like most people would have a hard time doing that. Okay, that's me trying to do something that my muscles aren't ready for. And that is something I really try to get across to singers, is that when it comes to your singing, if it feels difficult, it's often a muscular coordination issue. It's not because you're a bad singer. Now let's talk about a few of the really specific reasons why singing feels hard. The first thing being that the head voice is not developed enough yet. The way I like to explain this to singers is that developing head voice, your head voice, and singing in that part of your range, singing those high notes, that is what gives your voice flexibility. Your head voice gives the rest of your voice flexibility. And if we think about it, most of us speak in our chest voice range all day long. The muscles of the voice are used to kind of working in one way all day long. And so thinking back to these muscles of the voice, thinking back to what I was saying about coordination, if the muscles aren't coordinated, if they don't know how to do the thing to access those high notes, to access head voice, they don't know how to do the thing and they're going to compensate in other ways. A lot of times when I'm working with singers, if the head voice is not fully developed yet, if there's not much going on there, not a lot of muscular action going on there, what I will then see is a lot of trying to bring the chest voice upwards. These singers will try to use their chest voice to hit these high notes. And when that happens, there often is a lot of strain, a lot of forcing, and a lot of pushing. And that is when high notes start to feel like hitting a wall. Head voice development is so important. And I know that y'all have heard voice teachers talk about this so often on here, on social media, and y'all are probably sick of hearing it because head voice can feel scary. I get it. But when we think about it as like muscular development and coordination, it's not that you can't sing in head voice. It's not that you don't have that part of your range. It's that your muscles just haven't had the experience working up there yet. They're not coordinated in that part of the range yet. Developing your head voice helps thin out the vocal folds so that you can hit those high notes, but you won't just be hitting high notes. Developing this part of your range also makes the rest of your range that much more flexible. And that difference alone can completely change the game when it comes to how singing feels. Now, the second reason why singing can feel so hard is that there's maybe too much air pressure or vocal fold closure involved. And what I mean by this is that in order to make sound, whether we're talking or we're singing, we need the vocal folds to come together. We need that muscular action going on. And we also need airflow. And there's this nice little ratio that happens when we're speaking or singing between that vocal fold closure and the vocal folds touching and the airflow. And when we're pushing the sound out and we're experiencing strain, often there's too much vocal fold closure, there's too much compression going on of those vocal folds, and not enough airflow. And if all of that is a little bit too sciencey for your taste, I like vocal science though. I like to give it to you guys so y'all are more informed. But if all of that is a little too sciencey for you, the thing I want you to remember is that sometimes vocal strain can be caused by not enough air going through the voice, not releasing enough air. Either way, when there's not enough air going through the sound, things often feel really tight in here. It can feel like you're forcing the sound out. And what's interesting is that I think a lot of singers think that they need to work really hard in order to sound good or in order to sing well, when the opposite could not be more true. Good singing is about efficiency, being efficient, finding that balance of compression and vocal fold closure and airflow. Now, how do you find that? Honestly, and I know some of y'all don't want to hear this, getting feedback from a voice teacher, whether you're working one-on-one with them in private lessons or working with them through a membership or a program that's a little bit more affordable, that is going to be probably one of the few ways in which you can find out whether your sound is efficient and kind of finding that right balance. And like I said, I know that that is frustrating, but we are trained professionals, okay? We are trained professional singers and teachers. And when it comes to your voice, you can look at all of this stuff like training your muscles, like pursuing a sport, going after a sport. You know, if I'm trying to get better at running or lifting weights and get stronger at these things, I know that I'm going to need a professional opinion when it comes to those things. But I know also that there are plenty of options out there that don't break the bank when it comes to running, when it comes to personal training. The same thing goes for your singing, because your voice, okay, this is part of your body. And if you're just searching for things online and kind of throwing things at the wall and seeing what sticks, you could genuinely hurt yourself. You could hurt your voice if you're not careful. Now, going off of this, the third reason why people feel strain when they're singing, they may be hurting themselves. The third reason is that there's a lack of flexibility in the tongue and the larynx. These two structures are incredibly important for your singing, okay? Your vocal folds are in your larynx, okay? These are really important parts of singing, and understanding how not only how we coordinate the vocal folds within the larynx, but also the tongue's relationship to the larynx. These things are super important. When your tongue, when your larynx get kind of rigid and stuck, things can feel very tight in here. Not only that, a tight tongue can also impact your vowel clarity when you're singing, okay? It can impact kind of what we hear out here as your audience. When the tongue and the larynx are able to stay a bit more flexible, that's when singing feels a lot freer and a lot easier. And we free up the tongue and the larynx through doing different exercises, focusing exclusively on tongue coordination, larynx coordination. Between head voice development, between too much air pressure and vocal fold closure, and between this last one, talking about tongue and larynx tension, these are only just some of the reasons why singing may be feeling hard for you. They are not the only reasons why singing may be feeling hard. What I want to emphasize here is that when singing feels hard, it isn't because you're bad at singing, that, you lack natural talent or anything else. I don't know what it is about the voice that people just think you either have natural talent or you don't. You can either do it or you can't. Because if you can speak, you can sing. If you can tell the difference between higher pitches and lower pitches on the piano when somebody plays them or sings them, you can sing. When it comes to singing feeling hard, it has less to do with natural talent and ability and more to do with lack of coordination. Singing is a physical skill, and just like any other physical skill, it's gonna feel a little bit tricky before you get things coordinated, before you get that experience with your instrument. But once you have the right tools, adjustments, and exercises, that is when singing starts to feel really magical, when things start to feel so much easier. All right, if this video resonated with you, I would love to hear from you in the comments. And if you're feeling really brave, you can share with me, what part of singing feels the hardest right now. Is it breath control? Is it tension? Is it just nervousness and anxiousness? And if you want more guidance on building a voice that feels flexible, free, and fun, my studio offers private one-on-one lessons. You can work with me or my associate teacher. I also offer my Curious Singer membership, where you can get vocal coaching on your time and for a fraction of the cost of a lesson with me. Thanks for being here, and I'll see you in the next video. Happy singing, y'all.